Goodness me.
Well,
What a night.
I mean, let's be honest about it. The game was finished after about, what was it, 10 minutes?
14 minutes was 3-0.
Jeff, it was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't believe what I was watching in the respect. I couldn't make my mind up initially whether Arsenal were brilliant or Sheffield United were terrible. And I think there was probably a combination
Bit
of
of
the two,
both, wasn't it?
it?
Yeah, bit of both.
You want to give obviously the credit to the attacking team and the goal scoring team, and were clinical. They really were clinical. But from the second Odegaard scored that first goal,
You just feared the worst, didn't you?
Well, you could see it coming, which is probably worse. You can actually just see them coming every time they ran up the park. There was threats on the right hand side, threats on the left, threats in the middle.
What do you do as a manager in that situation?
Well,
because we can see it, so he could see it as well.
Well, he changed it right away, didn't he? I mean, he'd have started off a 4 and they just kind of looked all over the place and made 1 or 2 changes. But by that time, Jeff, listen, I've been there, mate. You just, effectively, you just want the ground to open up and the referee to blow the final whistle. They'll be looking at the watch for the end of the game. Dear me, before the first half's out, it's one of those nights you just want to, the ground to open up and you want to go home, get a cup of tea and go on. A terrible night for Sheffield United. Listen, Jeff, we knew it was going to be tough. We both fancied Arsenal to win the game, but I don't think either of us saw that start coming, I've got to say.
No, I mean, they came out of the traps and they were absolutely breathtaking at times in the first half. We know the second half, it always happens, doesn't it? You get 3 or 4 up and you never...
Doesn't materialise, it comes.
Yeah, you take your foot off. I mean, it got to the stage where, to be honest, halfway through the second half, I thought, I've probably seen enough of this.
I know.
So I turned it over and I watched a bit of Celebrity Big Brother, which is good.
No, that's...
Hey.
I'm thinking about storming out the studio after that statement.
You are right. When I say a bit, it was about 90 seconds of it. And they've got people like Fern Britton and Louis Walsh and Ekin Su, Levi Roots. They've got somebody called Gary Goldsmith. And they have somebody called ZZ Mills, but it's Mills with a Z on the end. Now, how would you feel about spending 6 weeks or so under close observation with like a dozen people that you don't know, including somebody who spells their name ZZ Mills with a Z? It doesn't bear thinking about, does it?
That's not my ideal scenario. You just hope they're getting paid fortunes for that. You need to.
What, the viewers? Paid fortunes to watch.
I mean, I question MD that's got more than 2 Z's in their name at the best of times.
Yeah, this got 3. Yeah, ZZ Mills. I have to be honest. I don't know. Is ZZ Mills male or female?
That's my question.
I honestly don't know.
That is my question. ZZ sounds more... you got to be careful what you say nowadays. Yeah. But if I was having a guess, I would say it was female.
Yeah. If it was ZZ Top, I might watch. But it's anyway, never mind. But by the way, just one quick thing. Before the game started last night, and you might not have caught it, Thierry Henry was on Sky and he was looking back at the game. Manchester Derby. I have to say he was brilliant. It was one of the best pieces of analysis about City's attacking prowess and the things that United did wrong that I've seen. He was absolutely sensational.
He is sensational, actually. I've worked with Terry a good few times, and very, very, as you'd expect, Jeff, extremely knowledgeable, and what a player, eh? What a player! What a football player!
Yeah, he was incredible.
I mean, you talk about athleticism and skill and talent. I remember, Jeff, I'm going to tell you something. I was pitch side in the Bernabeu for Real Madrid versus Arsenal with about 10 minutes to go, I think it was, and Thierry Henry knocked the ball back by Roberto Carlos, and I'll never forget watching him get it was like an Olympic sprinter. Just the beauty and the power and the strength and the speed, and these things that stick with you. Stuck with me for years. It was amazing to watch.
He made me laugh out loud once last night because they'd done this little box of where Manchester United players had been pressed back. All 11 of them had been pressed back, and all the City players were basically within the last 30 yards of the pitch. And he just said, "I'm playing in this game." He said, "I'm there," and he points to the halfway line. He said, "If they want to push everyone forward, then good luck to them." You know, and it was just brilliant. You know?
I remember we're having a chat with Roberto Martinez in the lorry effectively before we did a game at Old Trafford, and we're talking about a game, and I was talking about a game I played against France, and I said to him, Thierry, honest to God, I had a nightmare. I was hopeless. I was terrible. And we're blaring away, and then he started talking about a game that he played in. I think he was playing against Germany. He said, Ali, he said, I'm not kidding you. He said, I was hopeless. I was terrible. I said, Thierry, I said, with the greatest respect, you're hopeless and terrible are two. It's a completely different thing to my hopeless and terrible. My hopeless and terrible is terrible.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, Sheffield United, the first side in English football to concede 5 or more goals in 4 consecutive home games in all competitions. Look, I'm not going to rub it in by going through the rest of the terrible stats, but are they the worst Premier League team of all time? Well, you might cast your mind back to Derby County 2007, 2008, but Adrian and Danny Murphy certainly think they might be.
You asked the question midway through the second half, is this, they've beaten the worst points tally, which was Derby, with 11 points in 2007, 2008. They won 1 game, Derby. Sheffield United have already won 3. But actually, I think they're playing worse right now in this spell in the season than any other Premier League team has ever played.
Even if you go past that, they're playing how badly they're playing. There is an obvious lack of quality, that's why they're down the bottom. But when you've lost at home once and got hammered, then you expect the reaction. It doesn't come, and Villa have got some good players. You do them and you can't do another good team of. The third time, what you expect to see at least is everyone dying for the shirt and dying for the cause.
Yeah, it's such a big ask though, because I mean, Ali, you can't take away from the fact that Arsenal were brilliant. Who would have lived with Arsenal last night?
Outside the top 2, probably nobody. Nobody's living with Arsenal on that level of performance. I mean, I'm looking at them and I'm thinking to myself, how can they go up the park? They had 1 or 2 kind of sporadic raids up the right-hand side, but they just couldn't get possession of the ball. They could not get up the park to have any kind of threat on Arsenal at all, and that's because they dominated possession. They dominated everything, and it was, from Arsenal's point of view, you'd have to say, and you know what I like about Arsenal as well? I'm looking at them 3-0 up, and it's just as important for Arsenal last night to score more goals than it is to keep a clean sheet, because obviously, and so they should, and understand it defensively. They take great pride in not losing goals, and you could see that. Watching a team that are 4, 5, 6 up, and it's as important to them not to lose it as to continue scoring. Arsenal were the real deal last year. I take Adrian's point. The last 2 or 3 performances from Sheffield United, probably as poor as I can remember. The fact of the matter is, are they the worst team? You'd have to say Derby, because Derby didn't.
They've gone to Luton and won. I remember them going to Aston Villa and drawing. They've drawn at home to West Ham, things like that. So, there've been a lot of plus points, but it's a spell they're going through now. By the way, and we'll talk about injuries, I'm sure, during the course of the day, Sheffield United have been worse affected than most teams this season by injuries. And when their owner didn't back them financially at the start of the season,
2 best players, didn't they?
Yeah, they're always going to be bang up against it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when the cards that you're dealt, and all of a sudden you take a couple of aces out your pack right at the start of the season and don't even attempt to replace them, you're up against it. But no, looking at it, it's been a really poor season, and last night was a shocker.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Sheffield United fans, we need to hear from you this morning. Are you fed up? Will you be going to any more games at Bramall Lane this season? 03717 223344. Give us a call. Let us know.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.